So Sigmund Freud, he had this incredible idea. He called interpreting our dreams the royal road to understanding our unconscious minds. Now look, I know modern science has a lot to say on this, but what Freud did was, well, it was revolutionary. He basically gave us a map, a direct path into the hidden thoughts and desires that make us us. So, what do you say? Let's take a walk down that road together.
You know that feeling, right? You wake up, your heart's maybe pounding a little, and you're just thinking, what in the world was that about? It's so vivid, but it's also just bizarre. It makes absolutely no sense. It feels like just random noise in your brain, like mental static. But what if it's not random at all? What if it's actually a coded message sent from the deepest part of who you are?
Okay, to figure this out, we're gonna have to put on our detective hats. And this, right here, this is our case file. These are fragments from a real dream that Freud himself actually had. I mean, look at it. Company, spinach, a hand on the knee. It just seems like a totally meaningless jumble of images, right? Well, stick with me, because by the end of this, we're gonna crack this code wide open.
All right, section 1, the dream's two faces. And this is our first clue, and believe me, it is a big one. Freud's big idea was this. Every single dream you have is, well, it's kind of two-faced. There's the story you remember when you wake up, and then there's the real story, the one that's hidden way down underneath. So we gave them these fancy names, manifest content and latent content. Think of it like this. The manifest content is the weird movie you remember. You know, the plot, the characters, the fact that you're suddenly flying or your teeth are falling out. But the latent content, that's the real meaning. That's what the dream is actually about. All the hidden thoughts, wishes, and worries. And here's the absolute key to everything. The dream you remember is just a disguise for what's really going on underneath.
Okay, section 2, the mind's secret code. So if the dream is a disguise, then you gotta ask, how does your mind actually create it? Well, Freud called this whole process the dream work. And you can think of it like a super secret encryption service in your brain that uses a couple of key techniques to scramble the message.
The first coding technique is something called condensation. And this is where your mind is just incredibly efficient. It takes a whole bunch of different ideas, people, memories, feelings, and just squishes them all down into one single dream image. You know how sometimes in a dream there's a person who looks like your boss, but you know it's also your dad? Or you're in a house that's somehow your childhood home and your current apartment at the same time? That's condensation. It's like mental data compression, packing a ton of meaning into one little symbol.
Then there's the second technique, displacement. And this one is sneaky. It's like a shell game that your mind plays with your emotions. It'll take all the intense feeling that's attached to something really important, a big fear, a deep desire, and it just shifts it. It attaches that emotion to something totally random and unimportant in the dream. So the thing you feel really strongly about in the dream is just a decoy. It's the ultimate misdirection designed to throw you completely off the scent of what really matters.
All right, section 3, guardian of your sleep. I mean, this all sounds like a ton of work, right? You've got elaborate codes, misdirection, emotional shell games, which kind of begs the question, why? Why does our mind go to all this trouble? Why not just, think the thought?
Well, the answer, according to Freud, is something he called the censor. The best way to think about it is like a bouncer, standing at the velvet rope of your conscious mind, and its one and only job is to protect you. It stops any thoughts or desires that it thinks are too disturbing, too weird, or just not okay from getting in. And those thoughts that get turned away at the door, they get repressed, pushed down into the unconscious. And this is where the real genius of the dream comes in. It's a compromise. It's a clever little deal. The repressed thought gets to come out and play, but it has to wear a disguise. That weird, nonsensical dream you remember, that's the disguise. It's just strange enough that it can sneak right past the censor, who's a little sleepy anyway. The censor just looks at it, sees a bunch of nonsense, and waves it through, having no idea there's a secret message hidden inside. Pretty clever, huh? So this whole elaborate system, the disguises, the codes, the censors, it all serves one primary biological function: to protect your sleep. By letting these forbidden thoughts have their moment, but in a safe, disguised way, the dream acts like a safety valve. It lets off all that psychic pressure without setting off any alarms that would wake you up. So, get this. The dream isn't disturbing your sleep. It's the very thing that's guarding it. Okay, section 4, the ultimate hidden wish. So we know our dreams are disguised messages. We know they're designed to protect our sleep.
But what's the ultimate motive here? What is the one thing, the one single thing that Freud said every single dream is trying to do?
Here it is. This is the absolute core of his entire theory. Are you ready? A dream is the disguised fulfillment of a repressed wish. That's it. Every dream, and I mean every dream, no matter how scary or sad or just plain bizarre, is at its heart a wish fulfillment. It's a little movie your mind makes where a hidden desire finally comes true. Now, I know what you're thinking. What about nightmares? That's a fair question. But Freud had a great answer. He pointed to the dreams of little kids. See, their sensor isn't fully developed yet, so their dreams are super simple and there's no disguise. It's pure wish fulfillment. A kid is told, nope, no more cherries today. What do they dream about that night? Eating a giant bowl of cherries. The day said no, but the dream says yes. It's that simple. And that is why this whole thing is so important. That's why he called it the Royal Road. Because if every dream is a hidden wish, then learning how to read them, well, it's like finding a secret map to the deepest parts of yourself. It's the path to figuring out what you really, truly want deep down. All right, Section 5, cracking the case. We have our detective kit, we know about the dream's disguise, the manifest content, and its real meaning, the latent content. We know the mind's secret codes, condensation and displacement, and most importantly, we know we're hunting for a hidden wish. So let's do this. Let's solve the mystery from the beginning. Okay, let's look at the case file one more time. Remember this? Freud's dream. Company, spinach being served, a hand on the knee, a pair of beautiful eyes. On the surface, it's just a bunch of random junk. But now we have the tools to decode it. So let's break it down piece by piece, just like Freud did. That public table? Turns out, it reminded him of a free taxi ride he'd just taken, which left him feeling like he owed someone. The woman, Mrs. E.L., that's a classic case of condensation. She was a mashup of the daughter of a man he owed money to and his own wife. The spinach? That connected back to a food he disliked as a child, a symbol of duty. But here's the kicker. The final clue that cracked the case, beautiful eyes. He realized it connected to a common sarcastic phrase, for your beautiful eyes, which basically means getting something for nothing, totally free. And suddenly, boom, all of those random pieces just click perfectly into place. The feeling of debt from the taxi ride, the money he owed the woman's father, the sense of duty from the spinach, all these feelings of obligation, they were all pointing to one single powerful hidden wish. The wish to have love and affection that was totally free, something that didn't come with a price tag or a feeling of debt or any strings attached. And there you have it. That's the whole process. Step 1, you start with a bizarre dream that seems like total nonsense. That's the manifest content. Step 2, you realize the mind used condensation and displacement to disguise a hidden thought. Step 3, you know that hidden thought is always a repressed wish, the latent content. And finally, step 4, by decoding all those symbols, you've just walked the royal road straight into your own unconscious. You know, Freud really opened a door for us. He suggested that our weirdest, most confusing dreams aren't just random static. They're a secret language, the language of our hidden desires. And it's a language that, with a little bit of detective work, we can actually start to understand. So the next time you wake up from some crazy dream, maybe don't just brush it off. Maybe take a second and ask yourself, what is my mind trying to tell me? What hidden wish is trying to get through?